Good afternoon. I bet you thought I wasn't coming today, so it's getting late. I promise you this time we're not going to be long. This is very simple. If you were here with me last time, I said that we have all of these scriptures in here, the light under a basket from 21 to 25. However, you can't just lump them together because they weren't meant to be. There were favorite expressions. My belief is that they were favorite expressions of Jesus, and so it was something that stuck in the mind of the apostles, and this is the way that it comes out. If you look in the other Gospels, these three scriptures are not together. There have been preachers that have preached them as though they're supposed to be together. Hey, if it works for them, that's fine. It didn't work for me. So here we are in the second of the three famous favorite sayings of Jesus. Mark 4:22. And we're talking about balance. Did you read the caption? Do you have balance in your life? What is balance? Balance, sometimes when people ask, are you balanced? People immediately start to think about their financial situations. Some people think about whether or not they work too much, or whether or not they play too much, whether or not they're married or single, so it means different things to different people. But if you continue to read that little portion there that I've written, it's talking about the balance in terms of mentally, physically, and spiritually. So if you've been following us, you know that we typically do a little raw dish or something that's going to help you become very well physically. And so you're probably looking and seeing all of this stuff, and you're about to switch over and say, hey, looks like she's going to be here all afternoon. And we're not. I just want to show you some things about balance, and then we're going to put something together very quickly. So the scripture says, Mark 4:22. I wonder if I should review. So we can't review last week. So actually it's Mark 4:24. I hope I have that posted right. Then he said to them, take heed what you hear. With the same measure you use, it will be measured to you. And to you who hear, more will be given. Then he said to them, take heed what you hear. With the same measure you use, it will be measured to you. And to you who hear, more will be given. That's a mouthful. And so, lucky me, I'm familiar with this passage. And so I have familiarity with the other versions of it. And unfortunately, my phone is recording this, so I can't pull my phone to go through some other translations right quick. So I'm just going to have you trust me. And in essence, what he's saying, in real essence, what he's saying is that basically we don't want to make it seem like it's a scripture on you reap what you sow. But it's very similar. And he's saying the measure in which you give will be the measure in which you receive. You reap and you sow. You can throw anything in the ground. You're going to get something just on the human or the natural practices. I'm looking out because I'm looking over the garden, which is growing out of control here. Not out of control, but so quickly. We haven't even reached May yet, and it's like the maturity of, perfect example, the maturity of the garden at this stage looks as though it's the end of May. And why is that? Why are we getting so much deep foliage and maturity and in the perennials when we've not even really reached the beginning of the season yet? And that is because much has been given to it. Lots and lots of days of 80+ degree weather. We had a lot of rain. We need more now because stuff is growing out of control in that sense, but it's kind of getting brown. But the environmental conditions for the maturity of foliage and things like that has been expedited just because, what do you call it, what's that effect that people always talk about? That global effect. Or not, the fact is that things are growing because it has been given much warm air. It's been given much rain when it typically doesn't rain that much in February and March. So that's what we're looking for. And that's basically the same thing that Jesus is saying. He's saying that which you pour into abundantly will be given back to you abundantly. And what was he really speaking of and focusing on? He's focusing and thinking of three things. First of all, they're the same things that are applicable today than they were 2,000 years ago. And that first thing is study. That which we study, we can study, and this is a perfect example of what I said earlier about it's not exactly the same as reaping and sowing, because we can study. We've all been through school. But how much did you receive from school? There are people that went to school for 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, and how much of that information is actually retained? Now, it's one thing that we already know less than 12% of what you get in college is actually utilized in your professional career. But in terms of you understanding and remembering the things that you've actually been taught, or the things that you learned, what do you remember the most? Often when I talk about school, we talk about Ms. Goings, our science teacher. We talk about the French teacher, because they just kind of had an impact on us. But a lot of that was because we had so much homework in their classes that you had to give back. And so that which we study is going to be what you get from it, is going to be what you pour into it, because you can study a lot of things and you may have some recollection of what you studied, but is there an interest there? Is it thrilling to you? Is it exciting when you talk about it? And it doesn't have to be an exciting subject matter per se. It's just that the way in which you learned it left some excitement, some examples, or some things that you can easily talk about when you're having discussions with people if that comes up. And so what this verse is telling us is that balance, the balance, give, take is what you end up having in the end. And so especially when it comes to studying the Word of God, you've got to study the Word of God. Psalm 1 tells us that you meditate on His Word day and night. Then you have control over the success in your life. We often talk about self-help books and how to succeed and some of the famous people and taking master classes and this and that. The Bible tells us very clearly that you have control over your success in life. If you want to be very successful, then you need to be meditating on the Word of God day and night. It tells us that. And when you do that, more importantly, it begins to take hold of you, the Spirit of God, and you become connected, and life becomes easier. It's easier to deal with things. It's easier to put anxiety, fear, doubt at bay, because you're studying and you're being regenerated, encouraged. As much as you put into it, the more you're going to get back from it. It talks about praying and meditating at the same time. It talks about fasting and praying, the importance of doing these things. So you're going to get that which you put in. Then he talks about worship. The worship piece is important too. I was in a wonderful worship service last Sunday. It's always a wonderful worship service for me, because I come with the three things I think that Jesus wanted to emphasize, is that when you come to worship, it's not necessarily what you're going to get out of it. Some people go into the house of God, into the sanctuary, saying, oh, brother such and such is preaching today, and they already say they're not going to get anything out of it. In fact, if you go to a lot of churches and you know that they have a long list of associate ministers, depending on who's preaching, people won't show up. And though they may not be as charismatic, you may just not like them personally. But if you come with the feeling that you're going to give as well, you're giving into the service, and then there's an expectation that you're going to hear from God regardless of who's speaking. And that word is going to be specifically for you if you understand what the Bible says about that. And so that spirit of expectation, that spirit of I'm not just coming to give, I'm coming to get. Someone's going to be blessed by my presence. Someone's going to be blessed by some encouragement and some hope that I give them. And so it's definitely applicable to worship. And then most interesting here also is relationships. Do you ever notice that people that hang out together just think alike and all that kind of stuff? And so relationships is that I find if you're prone to be one that is just highly critical, nothing's ever right, you're going to gravitate towards those people who are also highly critical, nothing's ever right. You wonder why the multitudes followed Jesus, and that's because Jesus believed in the people, therefore the people believed in him. And that's basically where this scripture is ending up. You give, you're going to get back what you put out. And what Jesus wants us to do is to love our fellow man, to give for our fellow man, to do for our fellow man. And in essence, all of that will be given back to you. The blessings will come to you tremendously without you trying to make them come to you. A lot of people do things and they do it in expectation of something is, I'm going to get something out of this. But if you just go along through life, living the principle that Jesus wants to be the golden rule, that we do for others as we would like for them to do for ourselves, it has to become so natural. It's just an organic extension of who you are. And I believe that when we focus on that, we have a balance in life. When you're doing good I mean, it's just amazing that your stuff can be raggedy as all outdoors. The bottom is falling out of your life. Everything is just off track. But in the middle of that, when you are a blessing to someone else, to see the gratitude on their face, to see the encouragement that you've given them, the life, the hope, whatever you've given them, just takes you out of your situation, and it just makes you feel good about life. Not necessarily good about the bad circumstances that you're in, but good about life, and that's what's important. It just, to read, and that's probably why he knew that that would be the golden rule for us, because we're going to have trials and tribulations. We're walking with God, and it's a blessing to share in the sufferings that he shared in. And so when we also are down, I'm doing a lot of studying right now on adversity and how to deal with adversity and what is that all about. A really, really good friend of mine is really going through some stuff. And I'm just like, wow, and that's it. You don't know what God is going to put in your life in order that you may change or be effective to other lives. And it says that God uses adversity as his main tool to help us grow spiritually. He's not concerned about our comfort. He's not concerned about, things going our way. He's concerned about the effect that adversity has on our life can possibly save someone else in terms of their salvation. And that's, at the end of the day, what's important. And so there's a lot more to that. But I think in the middle of anything that we're going through, no matter how dramatic it may be, traumatizing, when we can just lift out of that and focus on others for just a moment, I think that's the first step to allowing us to have a peace in the midst of an understanding, a midst of a situation. That's that peace that surpasses the understanding of the situation. And that's all. That's it. That's just that one scripture. That's that verse. It's about balance. It's about you are going to get what you put in. So think of that as the balance scales. When I was in Egypt, everywhere you went, it was all about the balance scales. What you do in life, what you get in the afterlife. And so think of your life like that. It's like, okay, if you're in school, you're going to get the rewards of school based on what you put in. Were you like hanging out at the happy hour or the bars and the pool halls? Or were you like in the library and in the study hall when everybody else was hanging out? That's what you're going to get back, For me, I'm dealing with this tennis thing, trying to figure out how to win matches. So it's going to be, doing some diversity here and going and watching more matches and seeing some other people and talking to people. It's just all just, reading some extra books and, getting into the psyche piece of it. So everything, flying, same thing, it's just like, okay, am I going to be able to fly this plane by myself one day? And so I have flying manuals, I have a simulator, I'm taking the classes. The more you're putting into it, it's becoming very doable. I just flew this morning and it's just like, we're like this far over the top of a building. We're practice landings. And so we can't practice as much at the airport. So we go places. We went over to Annapolis Airport and we touched down and touched right back up. It's exhilarating. But the first time that I did it, because we did about 6 or 7 tries, the first time I did it, it was like, whoa, aren't we very close to the top of that building? And she's like, don't focus on the top of the building. Focus on the arrow at the end of the runway. So it's just, it's that, getting that information and taking it into my head on the next trial. So it's giving and it's the balance. And that's what that scripture is all about. Next week, we're going to do the last portion of that. And then we'll be moving on to Mark 4:27. So what did I want to do in terms of this? I thought, okay, today we're talking about balance. So when we talk about being well, there are people that say, well, I drink a lot of water, or, well, I eat a lot of nuts and seeds, but I don't like salad, or I don't like this. And so that's just not going to do it. It's the same thing. You've got to have balance. And so when we think about balance, you have to think about what we want to get into our bodies to be well. We have to eat. And I tell people, you know, I've got a lot of folks texting me about a lot of things, and I'm constantly, you know, quick, short answer. And unless you want to come in for a consultation, and eat as many fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, and grains as possible. You know, and so when I say that, that's exactly what I mean. I don't mean your favorite fruit, which may be a pear. I mean fruits with an S, plural. So we're looking at the fruits that are available to us, and maybe not focusing on some of the exotic fruits that, you know, we'll talk about that another time too, because a lot of times the exotic foods work better on the bodies for the people in terms of the environment that it's close to. It's just like when we buy our fruits and vegetables here in America, one of the best ways to determine what your body really needs at this particular season is whatever is the cheapest thing in the produce section. So when the apples are just $1 a pound, you want to eat a whole lot of them, versus when they're $5 a pound in the middle of the winter time, you don't want to eat, you know. So you want to focus on those things that are true to season, very close to get you in proximity. Therefore, they're going to be better for you for that particular time of the year. As you know, I say watermelon is probably the best thing ever, but I don't eat watermelon unless it's the middle of the watermelon season. Though you can buy watermelon year-round. But just don't do that, and I think that works well for my body at that time. So what I want to talk about very quickly, and then I'm going to move into a dish, is balance in food. So when we start talking about balance in foods, just like we're not to mix fruits and vegetables together, and once again reiterating that the apple and the lemon are neutral, so those can be mixed with vegetables. And, you know, when you're dealing with raw food, a lot of things change because you're just dealing with a very simplistic manner of digestion and assimilation. So sometimes you can get away with like maybe drinking some veggie juice and shortly after you're having some fruit. You shouldn't, but it's more acceptable than some of the other things you would do, like some cooked baked apples with some type of baked vegetable. But we also want to start eating in groups, like families. You know, it's like the Jews and the Gentiles, but we're all family, but you just still have the Jews and the Gentiles. You have the Protestants and you have the Baptists. You have, you know, so just think like that in terms of one big family, but specific family. So we have the big family of fruits, but in that you want to do berries. And of course, there are lots of other groups that we can pull on in this whole food universe, but the things that I'm giving you examples are things that we should be eating as much as possible. I cannot stress, and I'm starting to slow down because I'm really getting serious, I cannot stress how important it is to consume berries on a daily basis. It just is amazing what it does for the human body in terms of your immune system, your skin, your vitality. I mean, it's just the fiber content. So when you think fiber, most people are thinking apples, yes. They're thinking cabbage, yes. But when I think fiber, raspberries. Raspberries, because they have 1 million seeds in them, equates to a ton of fiber. Blackberries, 1 million seeds in them, a ton of fibers. Both berries, both in the berry family. Blueberries, not the seeds that the raspberries and blackberries have, but the color blue says that what? Blue foods are what? They're good for the spirit, the mind. Okay, so when the child, the teacher wants to give them something for ADD, you give them a half a cup of blueberries. When you can't remember where your keys are, you take a half a cup of blueberries. But blueberries are definitely something that is just, it's got so many qualities in terms of anti-cancer, at bay, just, you know, minerals, vitamins, just the list goes on and on. And then strawberries. Strawberries are red foods. Red foods do what? They move the blood. So when we have problems, the doctor does what? He takes a blood sample. So whatever's in our blood is going to dictate what's going on with us. So if our blood is green from eating lots of green foods and it's moving freely so that it can leave the body properly, then that's always a good thing. So And then for your skin, people talk about, you know, what can you do to clear your skin? Strawberries are at the top, well, close to carrots, at the top of that list. But we want to eat a cup, at least a cup of mixed berries. If you don't prefer one or two of them, then you can, you know, focus on the ones that you like the most. But that is critical in terms of healing, in terms of staying well, in terms of gut health. I always tell people you can only be as healthy as your gut. And gut health starts with a proper circulatory system, moving the blood freely so that we can get that matter out. And then right along with the berries, you'll have your pineapple and your citrus fruits. It didn't have any grapefruits, but oranges. So you have these mandarins. So these things are what? You could probably get a bag of organic mandarins for $5. And you get what? Maybe at least 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I probably haven't eaten more than a couple of these. And so what you want to do is just throw them in your bag. You talk about fast food. Standing in a line at a fast food place that has a drive-through that is 2 miles long is not what I call fast food. This is what I call fast food, where you literally can pick it up and peel it and consume it in a couple of seconds. And so now we're dealing with orange. So orange foods are great for the skin. And so to just knock out 2 of these, the vitamin C that you're going to get, the other minerals and vitamins, are just, you can't beat that. And then you're looking, along with the berries and the citrus fruit, you're looking at lots of fluid. So you talk about the fact that the body needs half of its body weight in ounces on a daily basis of water. So when you're consuming 2 oranges and a half a cup of berries, you're going to be going right to the restroom shortly after. And then citrus, so yellow foods. Yellow foods are natural laxatives. But even more importantly, just as we can correlate the color of foods with things like cleaning the blood, moving the blood, your skin, natural laxatives, also you can coordinate colors of foods with various organs in the body. And so when we talk about one of the most important organs, which is the liver, which controls some 2,800 processes in the body, the liver is considered to be a yellow organ. And so what does that mean? It means that when that organ isn't particularly up to its functionality, then you need to focus on things that are that color, natural things that is. I don't even know something that's not natural that's yellow. Let me think. Yellow now laters? I don't know. But anyway, so you're talking about a whole natural fruit or something. And so the lemon is great for helping to heal and cleanse the liver, such as yellow dock. So when people come in, clients come in, hepatitis C, you think yellow dock herb, you think lemons, you know, lemon in your water every single morning. If they've gotten to a point where they are at the disease state, with a tablespoon of cold pressed olive oil in your lemon water. These are the things that you begin to do to detoxify the liver so that it can detoxify the body, which is its natural function. And right there on yellow, we have the pineapple. Now, pineapple, one of the fruits that has the natural enzyme bromelain, is what you want. That's one of the reasons that we're consuming fruits on a regular basis, is because of the natural live enzymes that are available that, especially at our age, your body is almost incapable of producing its own live enzymes anymore. We have a storage of them when we're young, a reserve bank, and as we get older, that goes away. So those groups, you can throw those pineapples and oranges right in there with your raspberries and berries on a dish. But then we have the master fiber, you know, in terms of chewing. So we have bananas. So bananas are yellow foods. Yellow foods are natural laxatives. The fiber content in apples, because of the natural pectin that is in the apple, is huge. Apples and pears are like brothers and sisters. They go together very well. And the bananas are very close to them. And you can throw some bananas right in with your berry dish. That's pretty cool. Really kind of sort of borderlining that acid fruit, but it's okay. But bananas, pears, and apples together, excellent, excellent. And we want to do that. Same thing about that fast food. So if you really want to get to a point where we're beginning to balance our lives and start really focusing on not just the great thing about this is that you're focusing on your physical, but when our physical becomes, you know, where it should be, then the spiritual piece becomes, it starts to get there because you start looking at life differently. And you start wondering, you know, what is it all about and what's your purpose and all that. So that helps you gravitate towards those things that are spiritual. But imagine you're just, in the morning, you run out of the house, you take 1 or 2 bananas, you take an apple, a pear, you take a couple of tangerines or mandarins or oranges, you know, and you're good to go. You can just grab some berries and put them in Ziploc bags and rinse them and eat them later if you want. But those are easy things to do. So those are the fruits. I don't know if I really missed any. But those are things that should be in abundance in your house. Talk about giving and giving back. The more of this type of fruit that you have in your house, the more it's going to give you back in terms of vitality, in terms of energy, in terms of, you know, not having a lot of extra mass on the body. And so that's what we want to do. That's balance. Then you want to have beautiful flowers like this all the time, looking at you, smiling at you. You could be having a day where you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh man, I got to do this Zoom, I got to go to that. Then you walk into your kitchen and you see beautiful flowers and you just smile. It just kind of takes, you know. That's why I keep the garden like that in the summertime, because I get up in the morning, look over in the yard, and it just makes my day. All right, so now we're going to talk about the balance of some vegetables. So what I tried to put here is what we need to consume on a daily basis. I mean, this is huge. This is healthcare prevention. This is healthcare, you know, it's prevention, it's healthcare, you know, and it's maintenance. So it's all 3 in 1. And so just these are some of my favorite things, and I just wanted to show you what we can do with some of your favorite things, like really, really fast. And so when we start combining here in terms of balance, this is what we have. We have fresh ginger and we have fresh turmeric. So funny how much money people are spending on turmeric juices, turmeric this, turmeric that, where you can go and buy. Now, turmeric root is not cheap, but you have to think about it. Now, this would probably weigh, what? I don't know, a couple of ounces. So you get turmeric root for $10.99 a pound. Ginger root, $5.99 a pound. And this is organic stuff from Whole Foods. I'm sure if you went to Giant or Safeway, it would be probably a lot less than that. But, you know, convenience is something to be said about convenience. Now, this is something that I've had for years. It has a huge bowl that goes with it. I'll show you the bowl in a second. So we'll get to that in a second. So when you start talking about superfoods, healing, you're talking fresh turmeric, fresh ginger, fresh garlic, and anything that's green. So whether this is cilantro, which is my absolute favorite, then you get fresh parsley, you get fresh dill, you get basil. I have all the plants. I brought them from the Earth Day thing last week. So you put those in pots on your deck, and for whatever reason anyway, basil and cilantro, the herbs seem to grow better. They come back every year, so I obviously don't need to buy any more, but they grow better in pots. For whatever reason, they don't, to me, they don't grow in the soil as well. I mean, I guess they grow in the soil well for wherever we're purchasing them from. But to have them at your back door, to have them if you pull up the windowsill and be able to just grab a blocks like that is huge, because just chewing, whoever, I didn't tell you Whole Foods. So because I was looking, and then did you see me sniff it? Because I'm like, that's not cilantro, that's parsley. It's cilantro and parsley. And this was a bunch of cilantro, a bunch. You know how you buy it as a bunch. And they actually have parsley and cilantro. And I was looking at some other stuff in there, and I was like, you know what? They need to have a quality control check going on here. Lately, they are off the chain. And then you have jalapeno peppers. Peppers have excellent medicinal properties associated with it, which is why when you cut in, you don't want to do away with the seeds. So a lot of those properties are in the seeds. So those are what we call the superfoods, along with the onion, because the onion and the garlic are basically the same. They go, not the same, but they're like the brother and sister, like the apple pear. You have onion and garlic and the sulfur that's in both helps keep most disease and illness at serious bay. And so what I'm going to show you is a little trick in a second. Then what do we have? Mushrooms are an algae for the most part, but the medicinal properties associated with mushrooms are indispensable. So you want to keep them around. I have portobello mushrooms, which what I typically do is just slice them very large, put them in a glass container, and cover them with olive oil and a little tamari. And they can sit for 10 minutes or they can sit for 10 months. The longer they sit, the more they ferment, the better they are for you, because it really becomes an algae. But then I do the mushroom medley. So this has a variety of some of your more expensive mushrooms, the oyster mushroom, shiitake, beech, and then I usually just chop these up and put them in my salad as they are. These, when I chop them up and they've sauteed, you can do something fancy with them. You can kind of stuff them with something else, or you can put them on top of your salad for your guests that you're having that love chicken salad or something meat, salmon salad, some type of meat on their salad. These do very well because it gives you, if you close your eyes, it gives you the same texture as chicken or salmon, and then you simply put that particular seasoning, a poultry seasoning or chicken or fish seasoning blend on it to simulate that for people that aren't there yet, that aren't just satisfied with a mushroom salad. Celery and carrots. So you have the potassium from carrots and the sodium from celery. So if you have a bad hip, a bad knee, or you're exercising a lot like I am, you come off the tennis court, you juice you some celery juice, and that sodium that you get from that natural organic sodium is so good in terms of flushing out the uric acid in the body, i.e. getting rid of pain. So these are things that you want to have in your diet on a regular basis. The celery takes care of the extracellular fluid. The carrots take care of the intracellular fluid. And so in order to be balanced, to be well, the reason that we have disease is because we are not balanced, is that you want to keep your cellular structure balanced. In order to do that, you have to balance out the fluid on the inside as well as the fluid on the outside. So that's why whenever I have salads, they have carrots, celery, and beets in them. And so beets, when we talked about the yellow organ for the liver, then the beet is what we call the kidney organ, burgundy. And so when you are faced with possibly going onto dialysis, when you're faced with possible kidney disease in order, just simply juicing beets, they're very potent. If you go to a natural health food store, you'll never very seldom will you see fresh beet juice. You'll see beet carrot juice, you'll see beet apple ginger juice, but not beets by itself. Very, very potent. So when you do that, if you just juice 16 ounces of beet juice and consume 1 ounce per hour per day, up to 8 to 12 ounces per day, that is huge in just a couple of days in terms of how it gets the kidneys functioning the way that they should. We have cucumbers. You can add them in. They're more like a diuretic, so that's just helping to flush out stuff in the system. Can't underestimate how good cabbage is for you. Of course, when you get the purple cabbage or the purple cauliflower, it has more phytonutrients in it than the green, but green is about cleaning the blood. But equally well, cabbage. The roughage that you get from cabbage, its ability to carry bacteria, bad bacteria, out of the gut is huge. And so that's why we have cabbage. And so with cabbage, you do your regular green salad, and you can simply shred some cabbage and add that to it. Then over here, some extra superfoods. So wheatgrass, the little wheatgrass machine is not that expensive. You probably can get one for less than $100 because it's nothing to them, because they have to be lightweight in order to process something this light. So we grow our own wheatgrass at times. In the summertime, it just gets to be too busy. I end up looking over and it's mold and mildew because I haven't done what I was supposed to do. So you can buy a batch for like $3.99. And this will probably net you maybe 3-ounce cups. You only need, especially if you're not accustomed to it, 1 ounce of wheatgrass will have you like, for the rest of the night. And then sprouts, if you can get alfalfa sprouts, beet sprouts, any of the sprouts that are available in the store. This here is better than half of what's in your grocery basket of vegetables. Sprouts and wheatgrass, this is where the healing takes place. So I usually get beet sprouts and alfalfa sprouts to put on top of my salads. Arugula, the more pepperminty one. So you want to buy greens, if you don't have them growing in your yard, to use them as a base in your salad. So that's it. So what we're going to do is put together a very, very quick cabbage salad. But what I wanted to show you, so this little thing here is a little saucer, ceramic Espanol, handmade in Spain. I thought maybe the particular company that I bought it from. Yeah, so it's ceramic de Espanol, USA.com. This thing is old as I don't know what. And I brought the bowl. I mean, I was at, I don't know, I think I was at a green festival with the popcorn and walking around. A guy was selling these. And it was just amazing what he did. And I was like, I want that. And I've had this probably as long as I've been in business, 20 years. One of the things that I use it for the most, if you can inbox me, if you want me to text you that information. Yep. So what you would do, okay, so I'm going to do 2 things. I want to make this salad for you right quick. So we'll do this last, remind me, and I'll show you that in a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a quick salad that is just extremely good for you based on the ingredients that we have here. Just showing you how simple it is, and you can make so much that, you know, and this probably $25, $30 worth of stuff over here, everything, and you have enough that feeds you for a week. So we're going to do a small salad. I just want to show you a couple of things, because when we used to do the food demos, people kind of had some problems with these. So we have cabbage. When you're dealing with cabbage, so this is my favorite little knife. I've got 3 brand new packs of knives that I get really good deals on them, and they're really good, but I just can't stop using my little knife, because this thing here works like my arm extension. But this is too small to deal with this. You could, but it would take more time. And I'm about time efficiency. So you need a big old thing like this when you're dealing with a big old thing like this. And that's why people don't buy things like this, the whole head of cabbage. So you get a little intimidated. But let me just show you how simple it is. And I have a dress on. And it's like no mess, no biggie. I'm just going to make a small amount so that I don't have you guys here long, but you have an idea of how easy it is to get through this stuff. Okay? So you take that, you make a few slices, and then you come in this direction. So simple. And this is what you want to do when you make your green salad so that you can have some cabbage included in that. So you got some people coming over. I just had somebody text me. He's like, hey, Dallas, some lady I met at a tennis tournament last summer. And she's like, okay, I'm going to be in your area. What's up? And so, you know, you can put something like this together in 2 seconds, and then it'd be so nice and fresh. And when they come inside the house, you know, you walk in and you smell the aroma of all this fresh, good stuff. It's so cool. So this would be like something really simple for 3 people. You know, when people eat salad, that would be a day that you would probably have the sauteed mushrooms. And then maybe you top that with a walnut pate or something. So that becomes like the main course. So their salad, you would just kind of like give them in an average size bowl. Whereas for me, so this salad would be like for 3 people. Whereas for me, I would take the salad with my fork. Then you always want to have onions, obviously. I should do those last because they're going to make my eyes water all up. So I've already rinsed the celery. And so the celery you can do with your quick blade. And so you see how it's stacked? You just keep it stacked. And then that way you're not having to do as much work. And so you just kind of cut things like that. And then when you get to the end of how much, we're doing a small one here. So you're not going to use that much. Then you can take your large knife, just hold your hand close to it, and just douse. That was douse, not douse. Just in case. And then just to keep you save some time, I had some shredded carrots because I still haven't made the decision about which food processor I'm going to buy yet because I've been so busy doing other things. And it works, but it would be comical the way I have to use it, showing you that. And see, this is why you want to buy your own carrots and have your own shredder, because this is some crappy. It's too thin. So we have that, and then we'll take a piece of the cucumber. And so what does this look like when someone invites themselves over for dinner and unexpectedly? It looks like whatever you have in your refrigerator. And because you are a Life by Dallas, Ask Dr. Dallas follower, you're going to always have everything that I have in this bowl in your refrigerator. So you can make this so quick. And again, we're just putting the cucumbers in here. Cucumbers don't have as many medicinal properties as the other vegetables, but again, the fact that they act as a diuretic is huge value. So we throw some cucumbers in. You always want to use fresh herbs, just as many as you can. I was going to make a huge big one, but it's because I'm just doing a small one. Just going to take a small bunch of these, about that much. And then that's just a matter of dicing and chopping that really, really quick. Am I going too slow? Is this okay? All right. So, I mean, this is like making dinner in 2 seconds. So you have the jalapeno pepper. You don't want to go overboard on this. Unless the people that are coming, you don't want them to come back. Yeah, I'm going to fix you. I'm going to give you this dish. And say, oh, was that too hot for you? But with somebody like myself, it could never be too many jalapenos. And then I want you to keep this in mind when you're dealing with heat. Because it's raw food, people that are not accustomed to that, you want to put a little more heat to it so that they feel full. Heat has a fulfilling effect. And so also when you're doing something like cabbage and carrots, you can add a lot of jalapeno and it's just going to tame it down a bit. It's not going to feel like it's too hot. We're going to put some of the shredded mushrooms in. So you're just going to grab a few of each, a couple of the oysters, a couple of shiitake ones, and just, you know, for those of you who do eat eggs, that would be great if you kind of sauteed them a little bit and throw them into your omelet. Okay, so we're just going to put a handful of these in. The thing that I didn't have, because I don't know what's going on with the corn, they didn't have any fresh corn. I mean, any frozen. I usually buy frozen organic corn, and then I will just thaw it out and put that on my salads. So this definitely, you would probably want to add that yellow color in there and the corn. You also might want to keep some olives on hand. I love Kalamata olives, but some black California ripened olives is another good staple to have that brings alive a salad like this. So you take a small piece of onion, just because we're using a small piece. This is a small piece to me. I usually don't put less than a whole or half an onion in anything that I make. So this is a small piece for me. If it's too much for you, then you cut back on that again, just slicing in one direction and then coming back in the opposite direction. And then take a look at it after you think that you've cut it. You know, look at it and try to get some uniformity. You know, when I have gone to people's houses and they got one big giant piece of onion there, you want to kind of make it similar in size and appearance to the other items that are in the dish. And basically, that would be so quick and easy to do. I've kind of held off of tomatoes lately. I was dealing with a little overworking in my body. So sometimes if you are experiencing a little inflammation, just kind of lay off of the tomatoes for a minute. I usually don't lay off of any fruits and vegetables because they all have too many great properties. But the nightshade fruits, just temporarily, you know, you might want to cut them out for a week or something like that, especially if you're accustomed to doing them on a daily basis. If I'm dealing with some major inflammation, I'll come off of my nuts and seeds for 5, 6 days and just, you know, make sure I get 2 or 3 days of fasting in there. And that becomes helpful. So we're almost done. I don't have a problem chopping for you because I hope that you are taking in the information that I'm giving you as I'm chopping. I tell people, someone says, you should do a cooking show. So it's not a cooking show, it's a learning show because we are teaching you about every ingredient. There's so much you can say about every one that you put in here. And I think then hope that that's beneficial for you. So then what we'll do is we'll throw a couple of the bean sprouts on. These are especially bean pea sprouts. They're a little stiff. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you chop them in finer pieces. And you just toss them on because the salad is 75% water from all of the vegetables that we're using. So that's going to marinate it a bit on its own. And then we're obviously going to add some oil and stuff to it. You can put that on a bed of lettuce. And then we're going to toss some sweets. So when you're making things, you sweet, sour, fat. You know, so we have raisins and cranberries here. Not too many because we didn't make a whole lot of salad this time. So a handful or so. And then, especially, this is for the purposes of feeding your family, getting them on board with what you're doing, and then, of course, if you have guests. So we'll also take a handful of walnuts. Typically, you know that you do not consume nuts without soaking them, just because they wreak havoc on the colon system as a result. These are fresh black walnuts. Again, Thursdays are my fasting day. So I don't consume anything from dinner the previous night to dinner the next night. So by the time I eat this, when the sun goes down, 6:30, 7 o'clock, these nuts will be as soaked as they need to be in terms of letting some air, some fluid get to them because they're sitting in a wet salad. So keep that in mind as well. Typically, I will soak nuts ahead of time and have them in glass containers in the refrigerator already pre-soaked. And that's usually for the purposes of, you know, grabbing a handful to eat on the spot or putting them into my fruit in the morning. So this is our salad. Basically, that simple deal was pretty simple. Was that pretty simple? And when you're determining health and wanting to be well and what you should be eating and what's good for you, a good indicator is that if it's got lots of color to it, then that's a great thing. And then when it's, you know, raw like this. So that's pretty much what that looks like. So I'm going to show you then what you would do to serve it. And that's where you're doing the presentation for serving, but you're adding even more in terms of healing and health to it. So this little dish, and if you don't have the dish, it's okay. You'll have to do this some other kind of way and just create it for yourself. So here's the thing that keeps you well. So you have turmeric root. So we're just going to slice a piece of turmeric root, and you keep this handy. I keep it in. I don't even put this. I have more in the refrigerator, but I will keep small amounts of it or medium amounts of it right here in the windowsill because you're going to use it on a regular basis. Sometimes I have the peeled garlic, but it's obviously, you know, much better when you peel it yourself. It's just fresher, and usually I can get this straight from the garden. So we're going to take one piece of garlic, It's just as easy to peel it. I have the little thing where you can put it in there and roll it between your hands. So take this, and then you just have to make a sharp cut in it. And then, can you hear that? And so you just, typically you'll put a little oil or a little water in ahead of time. It makes the shredding easier. And so you take that onion until it basically dissolves down to nothing, and you can eat that piece. Because truly, remember the Delaney sisters and everybody else that's ever had real longevity that didn't look like they were dying? Always talked about, you know, they asked them, what is the key to life and your secret? Everybody would talk about how they ate a fresh piece of garlic clove every day. And so that's one way to get your garlic clove in. And then you take the turmeric and do the same thing. So I usually consume a nice chunk of turmeric. Now for pain and just all the other medicinal properties associated with turmeric and ginger for the gastrointestinal system, medicinal properties off the chain. So depending on how much you can handle, and I do it every day because I eat a salad every day. So this is how I eat my salad. So I take the ginger, fresh ginger, and fresh turmeric, and fresh garlic, and this is what I do. So I shred that all in, and then I usually do at least a tablespoon of olive oil, and apple cider vinegar that I don't have any more of. I'm out of. I've been trying to get to Costco for 3 weeks now. So you take apple cider vinegar, or you can use a little red wine vinegar. Just a tad, that's simply because I don't have the apple cider vinegar. That's how often I use this. It's all stuck in here. So anyway, you take a vinegar, or not, and then you take whatever little spoon or gadget that you have to just kind of mix it a little bit. And when you have guests, people that are still on the, here's some raw honey. That it's going to take a minute to get out, so I'll just talk to you a minute while I'm doing that. Take a little bit of raw honey, so you have something sweet, something acid, something, all these things going on. Not a lot, because you have raisins in the dish. Let's see that. Maybe that's a teaspoon. Because a lot of times I've noticed when I've done some things on here, you guys have asked me what kind of salad dressing did you use. So now we have that. Then I will take my salad, and in this case today it's the cabbage salad that we've done, but typically this is what I use for my salads that I eat every day. That's the mixed greens with the carrots and all that stuff. And so you just kind of dump that in there, a handful or so at a time, as much as you think you're going to eat. And then you mix it all together. You just kind of douse it a bit. And it covers it well and nice. You don't need a lot. This is way little bit of salad for me. So I'm going to put as much as I think I'm going to eat this evening as I'm coming off of my little 24-hour fast. And I just can't wait to eat it. It's so gorgeous and colorful and bright. It just makes you hungry. I think I'm going to actually go to the store and get some corn because that's the only thing that it's missing. And then you'll take a ripe avocado and slice it right out of the shell. And put it atop. Now, since this is just a small amount of salad, I'm coming off of not having anything else today. I think a half would be fine for today. Then I may pour just a little bit more oil over the top. And then, if you want, you can take just a little teeny bit. This is going to take forever to come out of here because it's totally unsulfured blackstrap molasses. So I'll wait for that to get closer down to the bottom. Put a little bit of blackstrap molasses on it. And then here's my seasoning blend, which is turmeric, cumin, paprika, cinnamon, curry, and nutritional yeast all mixed together. You sprinkle that on top, and that's it. A I'll let the video person have some because I can't eat it for another hour or two. And so I will actually just let this sit and marinate for the next 2 hours. It'll be fine. And then the rest of that, I'll have tomorrow, next day. See how much you still have left? You could have fed 2 more people dinner salad. Balance. And what am I going to have to do? It's going to take me 10 minutes max to clean up. Basically, all I have to do is rinse these cutting knives and put everything else back away. And so that's what I call balance. That's what I call, you know, being in. Then you sit your flowers right there while you eat your meal, and it just doesn't get better than this. And it's going to have you looking fabulous. So it really doesn't get better than that, huh? And it's going to have you be kind to people. This kind of food makes you kind. When you go to raw restaurants and restaurants that sell healthy dishes like this, the waitresses, the whole environment is just so much kinder, you know? So hopefully that helps you. Balance, balance, balance. You will get what you get out. Think of the scales. Think, I wanted this much off the scale. Then you have to give this much on the equal opposite side of that scale. That's what Jesus wants us to do. He wants us to be whole, balanced, spiritually, physically, and mentally. And that starts with what you're putting out. You want to be well, you've got to put out. You've got to get you some tennis shoes, get that walking in. You've got to go down the produce section. When you go into the supermarket, it is set up to just, you know, the produce section is this little teeny small area as soon as you come in the door. Then you go into the dairy section, which is larger, which is going to clog all of your arteries, and it's got the meat there too. Then you have all of these aisles that you go running up and down with all of this packaged food that has just got a ton of preservatives and additives and things that just are processed and do nothing for the health and vitality. And then you get around to the bakery section, which has all this stuff that is just going to be clogging your system forever. So just run into the little produce section, fill up your cart, your shopping cart. 3/4 of your cart should be from the fresh produce section. That little teeny place in the top where you usually put your small toddler kid. If you're getting meat, dairy, and dairy products, then that's about as much of your cart that you should let that take up. Your processed foods, packaged, boxed goods, and things like that, that little area under the bottom of the cart. Do that for 30 days, and I guarantee you, you'll see a new you, and that's what life is all about. See you in 2 weeks.